Hello! So this is the first video of the actual assignment that is over chapter 1, and there are 3 questions that were asked that are needing answered, and I will restate each question before answering them thoroughly. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first question was, what was the patronage system in the late 18th century? And patronage system, that basically means that an organization or an individual of high power or high popularity gives support, encouragement, privilege, or financial aid to another organization or individual. And in the 18th century, within the music era, the higher up powers would be kings, popes, and the wealth, the high class. And they would encourage musicians and would help them financially, and they would also help composers as well. And they would invite composers, musicians to their houses, to kingdoms, and have them play for them, and they would pay them and for their performances, along with they would spread their name out so that they gain popularity. They'll get more gigs, and they would earn more money and secure their job, basically. The next question would be, discuss the rise of professional musicians and the rise of professional musicians of chamber music in the early 19th century. So when the 19th century started, that was basically the start of the Romantic era. And so a lot of composers were really trying to be more expressive with their music. And so this brought more out of the professional musicians over amateur musicians. And so the rise of these professional musicians became more known as virtuosos, and those who were able to meet the requirements or are capable of playing the pieces that were written for virtuosos rose up to the next level, while the typical amateurs basically took a step back, and the gap between amateurs and professionals definitely widened at this point, making the professional musicians very much more important and more skillful. And this goes along with the chamber music. Chamber music was changing as well, and so the music was getting more difficult, but was also gaining popularity, and so there was more musicians performing in chamber ensembles, and more people were hiring these ensembles for performances, and not just solo artists and those kind of people. And so the last question on here is, how could events like the French Revolution and the American Revolution affect a decline of the patronage system, and how could those events change social and economic makeup of the early 19th century? So when the revolutions happened, basically there was a change within the power. They were trying to get rid of having a ruler, having kings, and wanting to go more to the um, demographical uh, side. They establish government, be more independent as countries. So that takes away some of the high power, and so that means basically less people to have the power and capabilities of rising up musicians and encouraging and giving financial aid to these musicians. Um, as far as the social and economic, that I feel like I kind of explained that as well. The social side, people wanted more rights. They didn't want to have a ruler over them. Uh, they wanted to have the right to make decisions as well as to how the future will be for their country. And economically, they also wanted to have some power, I guess you can call it power, and privilege to be able to make decisions on that as well. So those were the three questions. I hope I answer them as correctly as possible, and until next time, I'll see you later.